So you want to travel without breaking the bank on the flights? Maybe you've already done some research and got confused hearing all the tips and tricks and other hacks with VPN software, deleting your cookies or somehow hacking the airlines? As a regular, everyday, normal traveler that has spent endless hours on planes, I will show you my easy and quick step-by-step process for finding the best and cheapest flights possible without false promises or secret hacks. Plus, stay tuned for 2 valuable tips at the end that most people overlook when booking their flights. When planning a journey from point A to point B, especially if they're distant, the price tag can be staggering. That's why many people are searching for different ways to outsmart the airlines or somehow find cheaper options. But if you want to travel, for example, from Dallas, USA to Beijing, China, you have to pay a significant amount of green. That doesn't matter, there is no way to optimize your searching process. Keep in mind though, if a deal sounds too good to be true, it probably is. That's why I'll share my straightforward, step-by-step process, easy and quick. Step number 1. Search for the direction you want to go in Google and open few popular sites that offer price comparison. That's probably something you've already known, but it's important to know that although those pages might show the same or similar prices for the same connections, different flights can be found due to differences in promoting flights, user interfaces, and other factors that can lead to varied results. So if you search with the same assumptions on different pages, the outcome might be different. That's why it's crucial to always search on several pages such as Google Flights, Expedia, Kayak, Momondo, or Skyscanner. Step 2. Select dates when you want to go, but if you can, maintain flexibility. For example, if you know that you want to go in late March, don't define the dates as 15 to 30th March without any flexibility to it. Many portals offer flexible dates option, which means that maybe you could depart few days earlier or return a little bit sooner. If you do consider a few possible dates, you can already save a lot of money. If you have just one date to which you will stick at all costs, then you will have to pay all the cost, or at least you can do nothing more than accept what the airlines would offer you. Step 3. I hope you run step 2 on all sites you've selected to search for flights. You should see now several possible flights, usually sorted from the cheapest to the most expensive. Sometimes the search tools also show the best option at first, because it might happen that the cheapest are with multiple stopovers or the layovers are really long. Usually I would filter out flights with up to 1 stopover. With only 1 you should be able to go to most places, unless you've selected 2 small airports that are on different continents. In that case you might want to reconsider choosing a different airport you'd be going to or leaving from. For example, you might want to go from Europe to Peru and you start from a place that doesn't have a direct connection to Peru, and additionally, instead of choosing the biggest airport of Peru in its capital Lima, you choose Cusco, which is actually a much more interesting place to go, because from there you can go, for example, to Machu Picchu. The searching sites would tell you to go from your place to an European airport and from there to Lima and then to Cusco. In that case, you either would want to start from a bigger airport, not too far from the place you live, but one that has a direct connection to Lima, but I would actually suggest to go to Lima and then buy domestic tickets additionally on a date that would be suitable to your arrival date. Domestic flights on short lanes are usually very frequent and the price don't vary a lot. So this is the place where you should reconsider the airports you've selected, but don't go crazy when selecting the departure airport. Why is that important? I'll share that in the tips at the end of the video. Step 4. After defining your travel airports, evaluate the flight options presented. Most of the flights should be similar on all pages, but not necessarily. Usually you should have 1 to 3 reasonable propositions. Now let's take a closer look. What do you need to check before you select one? First, how long is the stopover? Everything between 5 to 7 hours for me is a no-go. If it's less, it's not that bad. If it's longer, that might be enough time to leave the airport and do something instead of just waiting. But more on that also at the end of the video. You need to check if you're comfortable with the times. That's it. When is the starting, or more importantly, arrival time? If it's a 2-day travel and you can't arrive a day later because on that day you should already be at work, well, you shouldn't buy that one. Additional costs. Now, this is very important. Different airlines have different regulations on luggage that is included in the price. It might mean that for some flights you'll need to buy additional luggage, what would raise the cost significantly. And step 5. Once you've identified ideal flights on your selected dates, play around with the dates a little bit. Repeat step 1 to 4 with different dates. As mentioned, if you want to go late March, try a few days earlier or later. Sometimes seemingly more expensive options might turn out to be more cost effective after filtering in step 3, and step 4. Step 6 is, as a final step, check the prices on official websites of the airlines you've shortlisted. You might discover better prices, more favorable connections, and the added benefit is dealing actually directly with the airline. Try the processes out yourself and let me know in the comments if it helped you or made it easier to find better flights. If you do find it valuable, please like the video and consider subscribing to the channel. I will post many videos with flight and travel tips. 2 of them I'd like to share with you right now. As promised, 2 tips for selecting best flights that are not well known but are the ones that I personally worked out over many years of traveling around the world. Tip number 1 is to transform your stopovers into additional days of travel. I've explored Rio de Janeiro on my way to Argentina, Toronto en route to Peru, and Doha when heading to Vietnam. Especially when buying flights on the airline page, where you can freely select between all available flights, you might want to search for connection with an extended layover. Preferably not just during the night, right? But in places you've maybe never been to. That way you might have a great additional day or 2 of traveling to a whole different place and also some rest between long flights. Tip number 2. Avoid searching for flights from airports too far from your home. I always try to search for flights from Krakow, where I live, only occasionally from Katowice, 100 kilometers from Krakow, or Warsaw, 300 kilometers from Krakow, but with a good train connection. People tend to search for flights from different cities, but unless the savings are substantial, it might not make sense. For example, there are lots of flights from Berlin, so I might want to search for flights from there. Berlin is about 600 kilometers from Krakow, but that would mean I need to go there 6 hours by car, possibly have a sleepover there. If not, I would be extremely tired at the end of the travel, plus the cost of gas, parking lot may sum up to a decent amount of money. And believe me, after a 10 hours night flight, if you land in a city 6 hours away from the place you live, you might never want to travel again. And that's why it's so important to search for best flights instead of the cheapest ones. Now, there's a lot of other cheap flight hacks to be found on YouTube. But are they any good? Make sure to check out this video to find out. Cheers and safe travels. Do zobaczenia.